became divided even by tactics. Some lost patience with polite lobbying and became militant. If they landed in jail, so much the better. Anything to bring attention to the cause. When the amendment reached Congress in 1919, 41 years after the suffragists' first attempt, lawmakers were finally listening, and this time, it passed. But in order to become law, it needed the approval of 36 states. Suffragists began an intense state-by-state battle. Their hard work paid off. On August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified. Now, it was illegal for states or the federal government to deny citizens the right to vote because of their gender. In the presidential election that year, an estimated 10 million women voted for the first time. In this book, you'll meet 19 women who paved the way for the vote. Among them are Lucretia Mott, a Quaker who became the mother of the women's rights movement, and Sojourner Truth, a former slave who knew the plight of the oppressed all too well. You'll meet Susan B. Anthony, who was jailed for voting, and Abby Kelly Foster, who refused to pay taxes to an all-male government. Also leading the campaign were Ida B. Wells Barnett, an African-American journalist who refused to walk in a segregated section of a suffrage march, Adelina Otero Warren, an Hispano woman who led the suffrage fight in New Mexico, and Jeanette Rankin, the first woman elected to Congress. Millions devoted their lives to this fight. They marched, they protested, they held conventions and gave speeches. They lobbied, wrote articles, and drew cartoons. They were bullied and mocked as man-haters, monsters, and traitors to their sex. They became outcasts in their homes and in their communities. For their actions, they were thrown into filthy, freezing prison cells, where they were beaten and shackled to their cell doors and fed worm-ridden slop. They went on hunger strikes and were held down while prison doctors thrust feeding tubes down their throats. Their resolve was tested daily. 100 years ago, women won a hard-fought civil rights victory. For 144 years, our country denied women the vote. 72 years passed from our nation's founding in 1776 until the first stirrings of the suffrage movement in Seneca Falls. For another 72 years, women fought valiantly. Theirs was a cause that cost many women their reputations, their families and friends, their health, and for some, even their lives. It's something to consider while you stand in line at the polls with your parents, and when eventually you cast your own vote. 1. Lucretia Coffin Mott, January 3, 1793 to November 11, 1880. I am no advocate of passivity. Lucretia Coffin was never afraid to break the rules. One day at boarding school, a boy was locked in a closet without his dinner for misbehaving. 11-year-old Lucretia and a friend sneaked through hallways and stairwells to the boys' side of the school, where they slipped bread and butter under the door for him. They got back without being caught. Lucretia grew up on the island of Nantucket, off the coast of Massachusetts. Her father was a ship captain who was away from home often, leaving her mother in charge of the family store. When her mother traveled to Boston to buy goods for the store, Lucretia managed the house and cared for her brothers and sisters. The Motts were a Quaker family. Quakers believe that everyone has a divine inner spirit and that anyone who feels the leading of this spirit can speak in church. Because of this belief, Lucretia was used to hearing women speak boldly. As an adult, Lucretia became a traveling Quaker speaker herself. In the early 1800s, Lucretia taught at a school in Millbrook, New York, where she had been a student. She saw that girls weren't getting the same education boys were, and that female teachers were paid less than males. I resolved to claim for myself all that an impartial creator had bestowed, she said. Lucretia began to speak out against slavery, believing it should be abolished.